Women in Bitcoin is sponsored by BTCX, Sweden's first Bitcoin exchange, and now also Bitcoin Treasury. Since 2011, we made it easy to buy and sell Bitcoin. Visit bt.cx and discover the power of safe money. BTCX, making Bitcoin easy. Welcome to Women in Bitcoin. Today, we're joined by a very special lady, all the way from the city that minds the gap, right? She's stunning, she's magnetic and vibrant inside and out, and she's the person you just can't help but go over and say hi to at any Bitcoin conference or Le Femme Orange event where we met. She describes herself as a newish Bitcoiner who orange-pilled herself. And this was as late as summer, right, 2024, so approximately 1 year ago. And since then, things have indeed moved fast. In just 1 year, she's been on several Bitcoin podcasts. She launched a London meetup, served as an Orange Pill App City ambassador. That was a lot of words. She joined the 2040 this triggers my Tourette's, WTF collective.
2140.wtf. Yeah.
That's right. And now works with nostradev.com. That's a lot of, you will talk more about these high-tech initiatives. But first, let's give it up for AJ. Welcome.
Thank you so much, Rebecca and Honey, for having me. It's really great to be here, and it was so nice to meet you in Helsinki. So thank you for coming over and saying hello.
Yeah.
And thank you for having us in our podcast. It's a one honor. I will say always, it's an honor to have you in the podcast and expressing your story to our listeners. But let's start with some what do we call it? People wants to know who you are and what you do, AJ. But the first question I will ask is a little bit different. What was the first thing you do this morning today?
Nothing interesting. I got myself a coffee, and then I had to deal with emails to do with the fiat business that I run. Nothing to do with Bitcoin. I had to send over a contract to a client, and I was so bored.
Accumulating fiat to transfer into Bitcoin.
Exactly.
So AJ, tell a little bit about yourself. Who are you? What do you do? And Rebecca mentioned, you are in the Bitcoin community. Could you explain a little bit about your background, a little bit who you are?
So I live in the UK, and I heard about Bitcoin a while ago. I actually just realized yesterday or over the weekend that I heard about Bitcoin way earlier than I thought I had. There's a TV show that I used to watch in the early 2010s called The Good Wife. It was a legal program. And they mentioned Bitcoin in like 2012. And I remember that episode. I thought I heard about Bitcoin in 2015, 2016. And I just realized that, I actually heard about it in 2012. Shit. And I didn't do anything, obviously.
Okay. What was this the series where she's in court? There's a Bitcoin case, right?
Yes.
I think I saw it too.
Yeah. So I actually heard about it way earlier than I thought I had. Anyway, so I like legal programs. I haven't been watching many recently, but I used to be obsessed with The Good Wife. I'm not a lawyer, but I run my own fiat business. I'm a consultant. Don't really want to talk more about that. I don't. It is interesting, but it's not interesting in this context. What else? So I actually, despite having heard about Bitcoin in 2012 or 13, whenever that episode came out, I actually only really got into it last year because I, like so many people, ended up shitcoining for like only 2 weeks because I set up a brand new separate X account just so I could follow one or two of these meme coins on the platform. The algorithm started showing me Bitcoin content, And that's how I ended up just orange pilling myself like within 2 weeks. I'm like, oh, I shouldn't have put any money into this shitcoin, but it's fine. I didn't put so much. And I just got straight into Bitcoin. It was a little over a year ago, but it was in August of last year that I went to my first ever meetup. And it was going to that meetup that changed everything. It was a massive meetup in South London. I met so many people who I'm still in touch with to this day, including people like Joe Bryan, who are really, you know, big on the scene now because of his What's the Problem film.
Yeah.
Loads of UK Bitcoiners were there. And that's really what kind of set the whole thing going. And it's a fun and crazy ride.
Wow.
That is a heck of a journey as such a short time, and you just entered to the Bitcoin community 2024, and were you surprised of your journey? Was it something that stand out of your journey?
I mean, to be honest, I keep feeling like I'm pinching myself every day because the speed with which all these amazing things have happened, I would never have expected it because I guess to draw a comparison to my fiat business, which I set up 11 years ago, that took so long to build. And I can't really explain why, other than the community, the Bitcoin community is just so much more open and welcoming. And maybe it's because it's small, you know, it's easy to connect people with each other. Of course, it's competitive in some ways, but it's also really helpful in other ways. Whereas in my fiat work, it feels just competitive and not particularly collaborative.
Mm, mm.
Could you give us a little bit example? You said now it's helpful. In what way it will be helpful, if you can,
Mhm.
for you personally, or for someone who's listening out there?
It's okay. So in October of last year, Women of Bitcoin UK ran their first ever event. I was already in the Telegram group, and they put out they shouted out to everybody. It was a much smaller group back then. They said, we're having a panel discussion, but before the panel discussion, it would be great if someone wanted to stand up and give a talk. And I thought, you know what? I'm just going to do it. And I was so new then. I was still so
Wow.
new, right? I'm like, who cares? I'll do it. Because I stand up and give talks all the time. So the giving a talk part isn't a problem. It was more like, okay, this is going to be a bit scary because I'm so new. And obviously, I don't know as much as some other people. But that's the whole point. Let's just stand up and give a talk. So I did that. And Rachel Gaia was there from TerraHash.
We
And
know.
after I gave that talk, she connected me with other people. I ended up going on 2 podcasts because of that. I ended up being invited to join the organizing team of Women of Bitcoin UK because of all of this. So it's just like people are so, if they see potential, or if they just see something that they like, or they feel that a situation or a person is genuine, then they just reach out to them and say, hey, look, are you interested in doing this? Or at least if you, or even if you approach them and say, I want some help with this, do you know anyone who can help me? I don't think I've had anyone say no. Everyone says yes, but it's the same the other way around. When people ask me in the Bitcoin space, I'm like, yeah, I'll do what I can, because that's how we make everything better, you know? That's kind of like, that's been my experience every single day, every single month since August of last year. And
That,
people throw things my way, and I'm just like, yeah, I'll do it. Okay.
that's I mean, that's amazing. I feel proud of the community to have this like warm embrace of newcomers, of new people, just don't not having so much experience, but have the spark and the willingness to learn more, and openness, which I think is basic of the community.
And I actually want to give a shout out to Rebecca as well. I'm very new as you, AJ. I just started as well last year, and the person who welcomed me in this community is actually you, Rebecca. So as I think is spreading the welcomeness of the newcomers in the community, and it makes it more easier. So I just want to give you a shout out to you, Rebecca. Thank you, my Bitcoin queen. And AJ, I just want to. You mentioned Rachel Gare on one of the podcasts, and also here, and but she gave you an opportunity to be sponsored on the spot on of the Bitcoin Education Academy. And what did the course give you, and what do you want to share people out there about Bitcoin that you say, aha?
Okay, so yeah, I ended up going on the Bitcoin Educators Academy that's run by Dushan at Amity Age, which was such a wonderful experience. That was, I think, in November last year. We were in this tiny, tiny little village on the edge of the German and Czech Republic border called Heidmüller. It was just amazing. That course helped me get a little bit better at talking about Bitcoin. But to be quite honest, I don't really talk about Bitcoin with people who aren't Bitcoiners. So whilst it was really helpful for me to develop my own understanding around certain things, I'm going to be honest, I don't particularly enjoy trying to orange pill people. I don't like it. Particularly here in the UK, Bitcoin has had so much negative press over such a long period of time that most people, if they aren't curious to begin with, it becomes really difficult to talk to them about it. And to be honest, my fiat work requires a lot of talking to people about difficult topics and things like that. And so my whole day, when I'm not doing Bitcoin stuff, is having difficult conversations. And so when it comes to Bitcoin, I'm like, I'm not having more difficult conversations. I don't care. Also, some people disagree with me. They're like, no, you should just try and orange pill as many people as you can because it will help them in the long run. And I get that, right? I understand the sentiment. But I orange pilled myself. So it just requires a bit of open-mindedness and curiosity. Not everyone is open-minded and not everyone is curious. I can't really relate to people like that. So I just, my makeup, my personality is that I will never spend my time banging my head against a brick wall just because I think someone should understand this. Right? Because then it becomes almost religious, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm just not interested in spending my time in that way.
Yeah.
If someone's curious and they ask me, no problem. But I'm not going to go around telling people, oh, you're struggling at the moment. Oh, yeah, you've got savings and you're wondering why you still can't afford things. It's like, well, it's because, you know, the value of your money is being inflated. Well, people don't get it. They don't want to understand it. I'm not going to spend my time doing that. I'm spending my time doing things that I find far more valuable within the Bitcoin space, but far more valuable than actually trying to orange pill people.
And for me, this is orange pilling. I mean, orange pilling really shouldn't be like, you know, attacking people with your opinions. It's just, I mean, you yourself looking at you while when you're talking about Bitcoin is orange pilling in itself. And for the listeners, I mean, orange pilling, we haven't really talked about the orange pilling.
No,
I
an
mean,
explanation, you mean?
yeah,
What is orange pilling?
why do we say orange pill? But it's could you tell us a little about the orange pill concept, AJ?
I mean, I guess the source of it or the idea comes from the matrix, right? Where you're going to take the blue pill or the red pill.
Yeah.
Well, for us, for Bitcoiners, it's like, are you going to take the orange pill?
Yeah.
And that is putting an option in front of people and say, are you going to take it? Are you going to take the risk to find out what this is? Or are you just going to pretend that you never saw it and you're just going to keep living your life as you are, and not try and understand what is really happening out there in our financial system? But most people don't want to hear it, or they're not able to understand it. But financial literacy is really low. A lot of people just don't understand how money works. Forget how the monetary supply works. They just don't even understand how credit cards work. That's why so many people end up with completely unmanageable credit card debt. Some of them end up with it because they have to use it and they're struggling so much. It's the only way they see to live day by day. But the fact that people are taking out payday loans, Klarna, I've heard stories in the UK that people are using things like Klarna for a takeaway.
Oh, yeah.
For a takeaway. So people just don't get money.
No, it's a now and here concept, like just pushing away tomorrow, further and further away, and just get by for the day. Yeah, and this is what Bitcoin is about, right? Just to
educate.
Yeah, educate and think long
term.
Long term, yeah. So I'm curious about the community. I mean, we've met in Helsinki, and it's a big. We're also part of the big European community, where I mean, global community of La Femme Orange, a Telegram. But I mean, your everyday. I mean, the most contact you have is in UK, right? And the UK Bitcoin community. Is that right?
Yeah.
So what is I mean, can you see I mean, we live in Sweden. How is the scene in UK right now? I remember us having a quite passionate talk about it in Helsinki, like, and you weren't all happy about it.
It's a really wide variety of people. There's some really high profile people who are lobbying the government to become more friendly to Bitcoiners, because the UK is not friendly. There's people involved in the financial markets side of things. It's interesting to watch what's happening with all of that. I don't find it particularly engaging myself, but the fact that this is happening is like, okay, cool. It's not really it doesn't get me out of bed in the morning. Okay. No. it just doesn't. But then there's the other side of things, where there's people really involved at grassroots level, holding small events in London, and the small meetups all around the country, and lots of work being done around culture and art. So that's why I joined the 2140.wtf culture collective. It's run by two guys, Mad Monkey 2140, who's also a DJ. So he DJ'd at so many events around the world, as well as doing what he's doing in the UK.
And this isn't the person's real name. This is an alias in what channel?
He's on, it's his alias that he uses everywhere. So you can find him on Noster.
Okay.
Yeah. And the other guy is Anon 2140. So same thing, they go around putting artworks, Bitcoin artworks. Like Mad Monkey's art is amazing. He does all this really cool work with wood, laser cutting, all that sort of stuff as well. In fact, myself and Anon 2140 took a bunch of artworks up to the Bury St. Edmunds conference on Saturday, just a few days ago, putting them all around the venue. And it was really cool to see people interested in asking questions and things like that. So there's that sort of stuff happening, and smaller events. So the guys are also putting on an event on the 1st of November called the Bitcoin Culture Festival. And they also did it last year as well. So there's all these like little grassroots things happening, which are really fun and interesting.
Yeah.
You know, they're more interesting to me than the financial markets side of things, because way before I set up my business, before that, I had a different career where I was in financial services. And I left it like 11 years ago. I'm just not interested in it, you know? I spent so many years learning about the financial markets and working within a small subset of the financial sector. And so the last thing that interests me at this stage of my life is Bitcoin and the financial markets. Like, it's not what I want to spend my time thinking about.
But what was the exit, AJ? What was the aha moment? It has to be a tangible or something that made you think that this is not right. I mean, there has to be some sort of reason behind it that you felt like I need to feel a solution, and I guess the Bitcoin was the solution for you in that sense. Was it something special, something that you could share?
Yeah, so I guess as I was going through the process of learning about Bitcoin, and what, you know, when I say I orange pilled myself, as I was going through that process, I remember thinking how over the last 5 or 6 years, you know, every year my business has been doing better and better and better, but I never felt happy about it, because every year it then felt like, okay, but everything else is getting harder and harder. So I have to make more money again next year, more money again next year. And you're on this hamster wheel where you convince yourself that you never have enough, because, and you don't really think about it, but it maybe every year is just not going as far as it used to. And I used to think, okay, well, how am I ever going to make enough money to be comfortable in my old age? You know, am I going to be destitute? Am I going to be poor? And all these sorts of fears at the back of the mind. And so when I really started learning about Bitcoin and how it will protect the value of my money, that's when I realized that, okay, that is the fear that I've had. I couldn't articulate it, but the fear was, it doesn't matter how hard I work, it will never be enough because I can't keep up with the pace of change. And I didn't realize, because I was just too caught up in my work, like by pace of change, like the pace of devaluation of my money, couldn't keep up with that. And then as soon as I realized what Bitcoin could do and how it could protect me, like, I know it's not about it, and it isn't about getting rich quick. It's about not becoming poor. That was the thing that did it. I'm like, okay, well, this is why I need to put as much money as I can into it. And, you know, if we look at the price, and when I got into Bitcoin in 2024, the price is pretty high. It's not like the OGs getting in 2011, 2012, who are sitting on a huge stack, right? My stack is not virtually non-existent, but it still makes me feel good knowing that I have this tiny little stack.
Yeah. And I think you were talking about this on something that I've listened to. I've been doing research, you know, between taking care of my kids, so I don't know which podcast it was, but so I mean, at least you're in. I mean, not everyone can say that. I mean, most part of the world has not gone into Bitcoin, and we're talking about you know, the stress, like, oh, I got in too late, I got the Bitcoin to the price that I deserved, but how much do you really think that we will need in the end? I mean, when, let's say, I mean, let's talk conspiracy wise, like if the fiat system will crash at some date in the future, like how much do we really need one Bitcoin, or I don't know, 10 Bitcoins to survive?
Yeah, I mean,
It's a big
I think
question.
whatever spare money a person has, any savings that are sitting in a cash savings account,
Yeah.
don't need that money in the next 4 years,
Yeah.
it should be in Bitcoin. It's
Yeah.
as simple as that. It doesn't matter how much it is. It might be £5,000, it might be £500,000, depending on what your life is, you know, but if you don't need it, stick it into Bitcoin.
Yeah.
But if you need it in the next 12, 18, 24 months, then you have to be a little bit careful.
Yeah.
AJ, I listened to. I did also research a little bit some of the podcasts, and you mentioned that you were really a spender. I mean, and back in the days, you spent it a lot, but Bitcoin changed you, and I wanna hear the journey.
Well, actually, I stopped being a crazy spender before Bitcoin. It was setting up my business that did it, because I left a very lucrative career, and to be able to set up my business, I basically took an 80% pay cut, right? I had set aside enough money to pay myself a salary, a wage, whatever, that was so small compared to what I had been making. So I had to immediately adjust, right? But the thing is, prior to that, I was spending my money on total bullshit because I could, because there was so much of it. You know, just a new dress every week, new shoes or whatever. Like, holidays, I think, is fine because those are experiences, but I was just buying stuff as well. Setting up my business meant that I didn't have the money flying around to be able to do that. So I became a low time preference person way before I became a Bitcoiner. I was already a Bitcoiner. I just didn't know that I was, right? I was already thinking long term. I remember the first time, even though what I was saying to you about, you know, every year I was making more money, but it never felt like enough. The first time I actually felt a bit of relief, though, was in 2019, because in the previous year, I had made enough money where I had like a year's worth of pay in my business. So that in 2019, I was like, okay, so I'm going to work really hard. Let's see how the year goes. But either way, if it doesn't go very well, I have 12 months of runway in front of me, right? And that's when I started feeling like, okay, cool. Now, in the old days, 12 months of runway in front of me, I would have been blowing it on God knows what, right? It would have just been gone. Instead, I became the person that was able to go, okay, no, this is my budget for the month, and I'm not going to spend more than that unless there's some sort of emergency. And I've been doing that since then. So even now, like, I have a sense of security where I know that if I didn't bring any more money in through my fiat business for 18 months, I'm okay.
Wow.
Which means I have 18 months to find some other solution, right? Okay, my business is flopped, whatever, I'm not getting any more clients. Okay, so I have 18 months, I can figure something else out. I'm not going to be homeless. Whereas most people, whether it's either because they don't make enough in the first place or they don't know how to save it because they can't live to a budget, I've read statistics that say most people are living month to month, and even richer people, because they end up spending more. They buy a bigger house, they have a huge mortgage. So if they lost their jobs, they'd be in trouble within 1 or 2 months. I can't live like that. I can't do that.
Yeah. I mean, this is a really, really interesting subject to think like. So my conspiracy mind starts to, think like, is this part of the system that will keep us, in this wheel, so we don't have time to like stop ourselves and think and like, okay, so what am I really doing here? how do I want to live my life? How do I want to care about my time and my money? And so I mean, so we will miss this, the good wife episode, and just change the channel until to something else. So I mean, something in me feels like, well, maybe this is part of this system,
The design of it, and
the
also
design of it.
especially now where we are being kept distracted
Yeah.
by the news cycle and social media, and
Yeah.
almost demoralized by it. Like the
Yeah.
UK population is completely demoralized. It's afraid to say what it thinks because people have been put in jail for tweets, right? They've been
Yeah.
frightened into just pleading guilty because they've been told if you don't plead guilty and you lose the court case, you may end up going to jail for even longer. They're frightening people into
Yeah.
this sort of stuff.
Yeah.
So it's the demoralization of the public.
And I think Suman Kumar, that we've had on this podcast too, she's been writing this book, the sovereignty of what's it called? No, I forget.
No, it is oh my God, the sovereignty. Now I have to, yeah, something like that. Now I forgot. She's
Yeah.
writing actually a new book as well. So
But she has a chapter about this, about a young girl who looks at her friends in the same age, and also talking about this distraction era. Like, instead of like thinking, okay, so what could I do with my money? What could I how can I think long term, like, and not just live in the moment? And I'm also looking at the young people when I'm riding, when I'm sitting on a bus going home after work, and they're just scrolling. It's like consumerism. It's just, all these different makeup styles and clothes, and it's the next thing. It's just buy things, and so you don't have to feel anything, and you don't have to learn anything, and you don't have to face any
consequences.
yeah, something that feels weird or something. You just keep on, and it's really scary to see this, to witness this.
We need sound money, yes, but we also need the freedom to speak to each other about Bitcoin or anything else, right? Nostr gives us that freedom in a world where that freedom is being taken away everywhere else.
Okay.
So Nostr is as important as Bitcoin, in my opinion. And that's why I was really pleased to start working. And it's just like, a few hours a week, a few hours a month or whatever. But that's why I'm really enjoying the work that I'm doing with nostrdev.com. It's a software development agency, but what we do is people come to us with the ideas that they've got for, freedom tech, freedom-based products that sit on top of Nostr, and then our devs create them.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's like all sorts of things.
And do you feel like, especially with the political climate being in UK, do you feel like there's a need a big need in London and where you operate for these kind of social meetups? Is there a need to get your I don't know, direct your anger at somewhere and get just to talk about it?
Well, yeah, even if we're not talking about that, we still want to get together because we're seeing the world in a way that maybe the rest of our normie friends aren't seeing it. And it can be really difficult when you've got all these long-standing relationships with people that you've known for decades, but you can't talk to them about this stuff because they just don't get it. So these social meetups are really important for that. Conferences are really important for that.
Yeah. And you were at the conference this weekend, I know. And I mean, not just appearing on podcast, you're now appearing on panels, and you're giving a speech, and And tell us about this conference if you want.
So it was the Bury St. Edmunds Bitcoin Conference. It was the first time it's been run. The two guys that put it together did an amazing job, Gary and Jace. They just, it was such a well-organized event, and it was fun too. I mean, you know, getting all the Bitcoiners together in the UK. I basically spent the whole day just chatting with people, my friends and new people that I met. I attended very few talks, apart from the two panels that I had to be on.
You attended that one.
Yeah, I attended that one. So that was excellent because I've never been on a panel before at a conference, right? So the first one, I was a little bit nervous for two reasons. It was my first ever panel on a stage. And it was it was a technical panel, but I was the non-technical voice on the panel. The subject was the future of layer 2. And I ended up going on it to be able to talk about how layer 2, so Lightning and Arc, it's really important that layer 2 succeeds because it's become such an important part of the Nostr protocol, and we need Nostr because it's uncensorable and it allows us to talk to each other, right? So, I mean, that's just at a really high level. But there were people on the panel like Ben Weeks, Ben Ark, Nick Malster, you know, people who really know their stuff. And then there was me, but it went really well. I was so pleased, and you know, people came up to me afterwards, gave me lovely feedback and great comments. So that was nice. That was the first one. And then the second one that I was on was called Bitcoin for Creatives. And I was talking about a couple of things on there. So I recently set up the Bitcoin Poets Society.
Okay.
Wow. A small group of us. There's like 11 of us. It's a cute little Telegram chat. There's some of us, or some of them, I don't write poetry about Bitcoin or Nostr, but some of them do. It was more just to have a place for us to be together, because there's lots of writers groups.
Yeah.
There's no groups for poets. So again, I just created the group that I wanted, and it didn't exist, so I made it. So I spoke about that, but I was also speaking about how, you know, if we look at the Bitcoin media ecosystem, it basically talks about three things. Number goes up, or just the price, right? Bitcoin treasury companies, everyone's obsessed with those. Or they're talking about governments and politicians and sucking up to them and making them like Bitcoin. It's like, we don't need them to like Bitcoin.
I'm going to the parliament tomorrow. I'm not going to suck it up.
She's going to ask the tough questions, that's for sure.
Yeah, exactly. Good. Ask them tough questions. But a huge proportion of the media ecosystem just focuses on those three things. And then, you know, they might get into the technical side of things like knots versus core, stuff like that. But any movement has also succeeded because of the artistic and the cultural side of things. And so many podcasts so many elements of that media ecosystem just don't even touch that stuff. And I think that's a real shame. There's real amazing work being done by artists out there. So if you look out for Asanoha, who has launched the Bitcoin Art Magazine, you know, the Genesis edition is coming out very soon, I think, that's just like full of all this amazing art that's being created by Bitcoiners. We need eyes on that, because normies aren't all going, there's financially illiterate. So they're not going to understand Bitcoin treasury companies. They don't even understand Bitcoin. They're not interested in politics because they're not even interested in real life politics. They're just too busy scrolling. Art speaks to people. So we need
the time is ticking, AJ, but I want to ask, we have question. I mean, this is so interesting. I mean, everything you're saying is just, I'm sucking in all the information. but let's go back a little bit, talk about your earliest memory of money. But how did your perspective change when you first learned about Bitcoin? But my question mainly is, does it make a person think differently when you have a uh, a financial background? Because as you said, you know what money is. A lot of people don't know what money is, how financial system works. Does it make different to come in early on, having the perspective how Bitcoin into the Bitcoin community, or
Just mean that you orange pill yourself more quickly. I don't think it changes anything other than that. But what's really changed for me is once I got in, then I was looking at life in a different way. I was feeling more positive about the future, about my future, and not caring so much about what other people think. I mean, I've never been one to care too much about what other people think, but now I care even less. Like, I didn't think that was possible, but now I care way less than I even cared before. Like, I literally don't give a shit. So even setting up like the Bitcoin Poet Society and putting it out in different Telegram groups, I don't know, a year ago, I would have felt nervous. I never would have done it. I never even would have wanted anyone to know that I write poetry or whatever. I'd never told anyone before,
Wow.
I don't know, this summer.
Mm.
But I just stopped giving a shit. I'm like, I don't care. If someone thinks I'm weird because of it, well, good luck to them. I think they're weird about something. You just stop caring as much, even about the things that are really close to you. You don't mind just being more open-hearted. That's me, at least. Anyway, that's my experience this
Yeah.
year.
Yeah.
I feel like I've just opened up a lot more and care a lot less
Wow.
about what other people think.
Let's call that the Bitcoin effect.
Yes.
it's
That
called the Bitcoin filtering effect. You filter what you need and you filter out what you don't need.
but it's also, I mean, you can use this community and this ecosystem in different kind of ways. You can shut your heart to it, and start to bargaining and have opinions against it, and you can embrace it and with an open mind and an open heart, like you've done, AJ. And I mean, this is beautiful. This is art to me, just to listen to you. And we're looking forward to your poetry. And I mean, I cannot imagine what other projects and creativity that will come out of this. And it's a beauty to follow and see you talk about this. I mean, I really see the passion and the glow in your eyes when you talk about this, and I'm so grateful that you orange pill yourself, and not, I mean, you say that you don't orange pill people, but I believe you do. Like in everything that you're doing, you are affecting people, just being you.
Thank you so much, Rebecca. Thank you, honey, as well. And I'm so glad I came to Helsinki. I'm really glad I met you.
Yeah, and I'm looking forward to meeting you more times, and we're definitely gonna check out this Noster hype. I mean, I don't think it's a hype in the rest of the community, but definitely in the Bitcoin hype. But I've been a bit scared, like, what is this? But now I'm gonna check it out.
Don't be scared, it's great.
Yes.
AJ, we always end up the final question is that we ask our guests, and what advice would you give women out there who are curious about Bitcoin but a little bit scared or a little bit skeptic? What would you give them an advice for our listeners?
There's lots of things in life that we can be scared about or skeptical about, but if we use that fear or skepticism as a reason to avoid learning, then all we're doing is hurting ourselves. So you can be a skeptic, but that doesn't mean you have to shut yourself off from learning about something to establish whether your skepticism is justified. Because sometimes our skepticism is not justified. Sometimes we are wrong. So we need to drop the ego and go learn about the thing anyway, whether it's Bitcoin or something else. Drop the skepticism, learn first, and then decide whether the skepticism is justified or not for yourself. Don't let someone else tell you.
And with those wise words, we will finalize. We will wrap up this amazing episode of Women in Bitcoin. Thank you so much, AJ.
Thank you.
Thank you.